Rain pounded Ashford streets like a warning drum, slick asphalt reflecting neon signs that flickered in the cold November night. The doors of Grizzly Diner slammed open with a violent gust of wind, and a small figure stumbled inside. It was Lila, a trembling 8-year-old, soaked to the bone, her tiny hands clutching a torn school backpack as if it were a shield. Her eyes darted wildly, searching, desperate, haunted. She wasn't just scared, she was running from something far darker than the storm outside. At a corner booth, Ryder, a 6 feet 4 inches Hell's Angel with a scar cutting across his jaw, leather jacket heavy with patches, and eyes sharp and wary, noticed her immediately. He had seen fear before, but nothing like this. Lila ran straight toward him, voice breaking. Please, please pretend you're my dad. He's coming. He's here to take me. I'm not safe. Ryder froze. Her heartbeat thumped violently against his side, a tiny drum of pure terror. He bent down, calm but commanding. Kid, who's coming? The man who took my mom. He said I'm next, she stammered, tears mixing with rain down her cheeks. And then, the diner door creaked behind them. Heavy footsteps. Shadows stretching across the floor. The little girl pressed herself against Ryder, eyes wide with fear. Ryder's jaw tightened. His voice dropped to a low whisper meant only for her. Stay calm, Lila. I've got you. No one's touching you. Not tonight. And at that exact moment, the first figure of danger stepped into the neon light. The man stepping into the diner wasn't just dangerous, he carried a presence that made the air heavier, a predator who measured every step before striking. His eyes, cold and calculating, locked on Lila as if he had the right to claim her. A shiver ran down her spine, and she pressed herself tighter against Ryder's side. Ryder rose slowly, the leather of his jacket creaking with each movement. His eyes never left the man. He smelled fear, arrogance, and violence all in one package. The diner went silent, everyone sensing the tension coil like a drawn bow. Kid, what's your name? Ryder asked quietly, his voice low and steady, a calm anchor amid the storm of fear. Lila, she whispered, voice trembling. All right, Lila. Listen to me, Ryder said, bending down so his towering frame was less intimidating. From this moment on, I'm the man who keeps you safe. You got that? Her small lips trembled as she nodded, tears running freely down her rain-streaked face. The man stopped a few feet away, a smirk plastered on his face. That's my kid, he said, voice rough, threatening. She's coming with me, now. Ryder's jaw tightened, but his stance was measured, slow, controlled. He rested a massive hand gently but firmly on Lila's shoulder. She's scared. And she chose me. That makes me her guardian. You touch her. You won't leave this diner the same way you walked in. The man's smirk faltered. He glanced around the diner, realizing the eyes of dozens of patrons, and the silent but imposing presence of Ryder, were all upon him. You're bluffing, the man sneered. Ryder's voice dropped to a gravelly whisper that cut through the tension like a knife. Try me, and I'll make sure the last thing you see is your own regret. Now step back. Lila buried her face against Ryder's jacket, trembling uncontrollably. Every instinct in Ryder screamed to protect, not just because of duty, but because the pure, raw terror in her eyes demanded action. He whispered softly, soothingly. I've got you. No one touches you. Not tonight. Not ever. The man's eyes flicked toward his belt, a subtle, threatening movement. Ryder saw it instantly. Without breaking his calm, he leaned slightly forward, voice ice-cold. Don't even think about it. Don't move, don't reach, don't breathe wrong. The diner held its collective breath. Chairs scraped slightly as patrons shifted, but no one moved toward the danger. Ryder's calm dominance filled the room like an invisible shield. Suddenly, the man's phone buzzed. He stepped back, smirking, thinking he could summon backup. Ryder, unfazed, calmly pulled his own phone from his pocket. A single call. 2 words whispered with lethal certainty. Angel down. Outside, engines roared to life, low and thunderous. The sound rolled down the streets like a wave of retribution. Every biker in Ryder's crew knew what the signal meant, a call to protect the innocent. Within moments, the entire street was alive with leather, chrome, and roaring Harley-Davidsons, lights piercing through rain and night. Ryder glanced down at Lila, voice soft but unwavering. "Keep your head down, kid. Family's here." The first of the angels rode into view, a dozen, then 20. Their engines thundered, leather jackets gleaming under neon light, each rider an unspoken promise of protection. The man's bravado began to falter, the smirk draining from his face. Lila's wide, fearful eyes followed every motion. For the first time, she felt a strange comfort amid her terror. She was no longer alone. She had Ryder. And now, she had a whole family of Hell's Angels standing behind him. The man in front of her realized too late, this wasn't a threat he could scare off. This wasn't a warning he could ignore. This was the wall of loyalty, courage, and moral strength personified. Ryder tightened his grip around Lila, leaning slightly closer. "You called us. And we answered. That's all it takes. Anyone who dares to threaten you learns the hard way." The man swallowed hard, eyes darting to the approaching bikers. For the first time tonight, he felt fear. And at that moment, the entire diner, and every soul within, understood Ryder wasn't bluffing. Not for a second. Outside, the rain-slicked streets of Ashford gleamed under the harsh neon glow, reflecting the roaring fleet of Hell's Angels that had arrived like a thunderstorm made of leather, chrome, and fury. Engines growled and revved, each biker a sentinel, a wall of protection for the trembling little girl they had sworn to defend. Ryder stood at the diner's doorway, Lila clinging to him, eyes wide, lips trembling. Every fiber of his being radiated lethal calm, a predator ready to strike in defense of the innocent. The man, Lila's kidnapper, took one look at the scene and faltered. For the first time, he felt the weight of consequence. He was outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and trapped in a storm of moral strength he hadn't anticipated. Sweat mixed with the rain on his brow as he tried to assess his dwindling options. "Stay calm, Lila," Ryder whispered, his voice a steady anchor. "I've got this. Nobody touches you tonight." The man stepped forward, fists clenched, but his bravado wavered. "You think a bunch of bikers can stop me? I know people." Ryder's voice cut through the rain like a blade. "People? You mean thugs who prey on the weak? You don't scare us. You never have." Behind Ryder, the other angels fanned out, engines idling, forming a protective barrier around the diner. Their patches glimmered wetly under the neon lights, each emblem a badge of experience, loyalty, and deadly efficiency. The man's eyes darted nervously as the bikers circled him silently, like wolves anticipating a strike. "You touch her, and nothing in your past or future will save you," Ryder said, stepping slightly forward. The ground beneath his boots seemed to hum with authority. "Do you understand me?" The man stammered, trying to find an opening. I just want my daughter back." "Wrong," Ryder interrupted, voice low, cold, unwavering. "She's not yours to take. She's safe now. And anyone who threatens her learns the hard way." For a heartbeat, the man froze, realizing the trap had closed. Every escape route blocked. Every ally he thought he might summon rendered useless by Ryder's call. And then the roaring engines outside seemed to echo inside the diner itself, a symphony of retribution ready to descend upon him. He lunged suddenly, desperate, reaching for Lila. Instantly, Ryder reacted, catching his wrist and twisting it with a precision born of years surviving violent streets. The man stumbled, crashing against a table, knocking over chairs. Sable, another senior angel, intercepted the other man's attempt to draw a weapon, slamming him backward with bone-crushing force into the diner wall. Lila gasped, her small hands clinging to Ryder's jacket, but her sobs softened slightly as she realized she was truly protected. Ryder leaned down, voice firm but gentle. "See that, kid? Courage doesn't mean you fight alone. Courage means calling for help when you need it, and trusting the right people will answer." The man scrambled to his feet, panic now fully overtaking him. You don't understand. She's mine. Ryder's expression hardened, his scarred jaw tight. No. She's ours. She's safe. And your threats stop here. Outside, the last of Ryder's crew revved their engines, the vibration running through the diner like the heartbeat of justice. The man's confidence crumbled entirely. He had underestimated the force of moral conviction, the power of loyalty and courage focused on protecting the innocent. Finally, he backed toward the door, defeated. His escape route blocked, his strength drained, and his fear evident. Every step he took was measured, terrified, knowing that one wrong move could provoke the angel's wrath. Ryder exhaled slowly, holding Lila close. That's it, kid. They're gone. Safe. That's all that matters. Sable crouched beside them, voice soft but resolute. This isn't just about fists and engines. It's about standing up when no one else will, about protecting the innocent with everything you've got. Tonight, you saw it in action. Lila clutched Ryder's jacket, eyes wide, or mingling with relief. You really saved me, she whispered. Ryder nodded, brushing a wet strand of hair from her forehead. Kid, you did more than survive. You trusted, you asked for help. That's bravery. That's courage. And that's why we're here. The diner slowly began to exhale, tension melting into relief. The storm outside continued, rain drumming against the glass, but inside, the atmosphere had shifted. The little girl was safe. Her attacker defeated. And the moral strength of the Hells Angels had reminded everyone present why loyalty, protection, and courage matter more than fear. The rain had softened into a steady drizzle, turning Ashford streets into glistening mirrors reflecting neon signs and the last streaks of emergency lights. Inside Grizzly Diner, the atmosphere had shifted from sheer terror to cautious relief. Chairs were askew, puddles of rainwater and spilled coffee on the floor, but the children, Lila and her mother, were finally safe. Ryder guided Lila to a booth, pulling a damp towel from behind the counter, handed over by Sable, who was now quietly assessing every exit and window. Here, she said softly, wrapping the girl in warmth. You're safe. Lila clutched the towel like a lifeline. Her small body still trembled, and every breath was a mixture of relief, lingering fear, and disbelief. Ryder knelt beside her, voice calm but carrying the weight of authority that had made her attacker falter. Kid, look at me, Ryder said. The danger is gone. You're okay now. You're really safe. Lila's voice wavered. I thought he'd take me. I thought no one would come. Ryder placed a hand gently on her shoulder. You called us. You had the courage to reach out. That's why we came. Courage calls courage, kid. And you answered. Behind them, the rest of the angels began assisting in quiet, efficient ways. Marcy prepared a warm drink for the children, while Sable and Hawk, another senior member, checked the alley and street for any signs of retreating danger. Every movement spoke of protection, loyalty, and a readiness to act if the threat returned. The diner smelled of rain, leather, and the faint scent of hot cocoa. The contrast between the chaos of the past hour and the calm now settled over Lila, allowing her to finally exhale. She buried her face into Ryder's jacket. I just wanted someone to protect us, she whispered. You didn't just want it, Ryder replied, voice softening. You deserved it. And that's exactly what you got. Marcy handed Lila a small cup of cocoa, its warmth cutting through the chill in her bones. She sipped cautiously, eyes wide, almost forgetting the terror from minutes ago. Ryder's attention never left her, constantly scanning the diner, ensuring no unseen threat lurked. Sable crouched to Lila's level. Courage isn't about being fearless, she said gently. It's about asking for help when you need it, even if it scares you. That's exactly what you did. Lila blinked, taking in Ryder's and Sable's faces, seeing their unwavering resolve, the unspoken promise in their eyes. For the first time in hours, she felt a flicker of trust, a fragile but growing belief that she could truly be safe. Ryder leaned back slightly, voice quieter now, meant only for Lila. And remember, kid, family isn't always about blood. Sometimes, it's about the people who show up when it matters most. You have that now. Always. Outside, the drizzle tapped against the windows, gentle now, almost like applause for what had just occurred. Inside, the diner was quiet except for the soft hum of engines idling beyond the neon glow, the distant rumble of the angels ready to move if needed, and the low murmur of reassurance. Lila hugged Ryder tightly, then glanced at the other angels, realizing the truth she had been craving. Protection, loyalty, and moral strength weren't just words. They were action. And tonight, she had witnessed it firsthand. Ryder ruffled her hair gently. Sleep tight tonight, kid. You've earned it. Lila nodded, eyes half closed, finally letting the tension melt, comforted by the overwhelming presence of people who had chosen to stand by her when the world seemed ready to let her fall. The drizzle outside had slowed to a gentle mist, but the tension inside Grizzly Diner still lingered like a heavy fog. Ryder stood near the doorway, Lila safely in his arms, as the man who had terrorized her earlier was now cornered, trapped by the overwhelming presence of the Hell's Angels surrounding the diner. Every engine growl outside was a pulse of warning, every gleaming leather jacket a wall of moral authority. The man's bravado was gone. He shifted nervously, realizing that every exit was blocked, every potential ally rendered useless. His hands shook slightly as he reached for his phone, desperate to summon help. But before he could, Ryder's voice cut through, gravelly and lethal. Stop. Don't even think about it. You're done. Patrons of the diner held their breath. They watched as the man realized he had underestimated not only Ryder, but the code that bound these bikers together: loyalty, protection, and unwavering moral strength. Ryder stepped closer, tilting his head to meet the man's eyes. You threatened a child. You took someone's mother. That stops now. You're done. And if anyone doubts it, look outside. Through the windows, the line of Hell's Angels glimmered under the neon lights, bikes idling, engines vibrating like the heartbeat of retribution. The man's eyes widened. He understood fully now. He had no escape, no leverage, and no ally who could save him from the storm he had unleashed. One of Ryder's crew, Hawk, a mountain of a man with tattoos snaking up his arms, stepped inside quietly but with presence enough to silence any lingering bravado. This is the choice you made. Tonight, you learn there's a price for threatening the innocent. And it's a steep one. The man stammered, sweat dripping down his temple. I just... No excuses, Ryder said, voice like steel. Cops are on their way. You'll face justice the right way. And if you even think about hurting her again... He let the threat hang in the air, unspoken but understood. Sirens wailed in the distance, and soon uniformed officers arrived. Ryder stepped aside, letting the law take its course, but his eyes never left the man. The officers cuffed him, and he was led away, shaking, fully aware of the moral and physical wall he had faced inside that diner. Lila's mother, bruised but now safe, wrapped her arms around her daughter. Tears streamed down her face, a mixture of relief and gratitude. Thank you, she whispered to Ryder, her voice breaking. You saved us. Ryder knelt to Lila's level, voice soft. Kid, you did everything right. You ran, you asked for help, and you trusted the right people to answer. That's courage. That's bravery. Sable placed a hand gently on Lila's shoulder. And you saw what loyalty looks like, she said. Family isn't always blood. It's people who protect you when the world turns its back. Lila's small hands clutched Ryder's jacket. I won't forget this. Ever. Ryder nodded, eyes softening slightly. Good. Because tonight, you didn't just survive. You reminded all of us why we ride, why we protect, and why we fight for what's right. That's a lesson you'll carry with you forever. Outside, the rain had finally stopped, leaving the streets wet and glistening. But inside, a warmth lingered, one born of justice served, fear defeated, and moral courage proven. The diner, once a scene of terror, had become a sanctuary. And for Lila and her mother, it would forever be the place where a Hell's Angel became the father they needed, even if just for a night. The diner was quiet now, save for the soft hum of the remaining motorcycles outside and the occasional drip of rainwater from the roof. The tension that had gripped the room had lifted, leaving a heavy, almost tangible sense of relief and exhaustion. Ryder sat at a booth with Lila on his lap, her tiny body still trembling, wrapped in a warm blanket that Marcy had handed her. "Kid," Ryder said softly, voice calm and soothing, "look at me. You're safe. You're really safe." Lila buried her face in his leather jacket, muffling a sob. I thought he'd come back. I thought no one would help me." Ryder ran a calloused hand gently through her wet hair. "You did the right thing, asking for help. That's courage. Most adults don't even have the guts to do that. You did, and that's why you're here. You're safe. Always." Sable crouched beside them, her eyes softening as she addressed the girl. "Courage isn't about not being scared. It's about asking for help when you need it. That's exactly what you did, Lila." Outside, the Hells Angels remained vigilant, a protective wall of chrome and leather, engines idling, ready to move if the threat returned. The sight of them gave Lila a strange sense of comfort. For the first time since the terror began, she felt a flicker of hope. Ryder continued, his voice gentle but firm. "And remember, family isn't just about blood. Family is about loyalty. Family is about people who will stand by you no matter what. Tonight, you found that. And it's real." Lila looked up at him, her wide eyes shimmering with tears, and whispered, You're like my dad now, aren't you?" Ryder's tough exterior softened for just a moment, revealing a hint of vulnerability. "Kid, I'll always be the one standing in your corner. If that makes me your dad, even just for now, then I'll take that." Marcy handed Lila a warm cup of cocoa, and she sipped slowly, comfort finally settling in her small frame. The soft glow of the diner's neon lights reflected in her eyes, mingling with tears and the first signs of a genuine, heart-deep smile. Ryder stood, looking around at his crew, nodding with unspoken acknowledgement. They had done more than protect a child tonight. They had reinforced the code that bound them: loyalty, courage, moral strength, and the willingness to stand up for those who cannot defend themselves. "Tomorrow," Ryder said, voice low but commanding, "we make sure she and her mom have everything they need to start over. But tonight, they sleep safe. And that's enough." Lila hugged him again, whispering into his jacket, "Thank you, for everything." Ryder held her gently, the storm outside now completely gone, replaced by the calm that comes after true chaos. The diner had become a sanctuary, a place where bravery, protection, and love intersected. For Lila, Ryder, and the Angels, this night would linger in their hearts forever, a testament to courage, loyalty, and the moral strength that comes from standing for what's right, no matter the cost. The rain had stopped completely, leaving Ashford streets glistening under the neon haze. The chaos of the night was over, replaced by a calm that felt almost sacred. Inside Grizzly Diner, Ryder watched Lila and her mother, now seated together, wrapped in blankets and slowly regaining composure. The little girl had stopped trembling, and though her eyes still held traces of fear, they also shone with a new kind of courage. Ryder knelt in front of her one last time, voice soft but filled with weight and authority. "Kid, tonight you learned what courage really means. It's not about never being afraid. It's about asking for help when you need it and trusting the right people to answer." Lila's mother reached over, squeezing Ryder's hand with gratitude. "You saved us. Both of us. I don't know how to thank you." Ryder shook his head gently. "You don't have to. Just live, and keep each other safe. That's all the thanks we need. And remember, family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about people who show up when it matters most. You found that tonight." Sable added softly, kneeling beside Lila, "Courage, loyalty, protection, that's what matters. And you experienced all of it firsthand. You'll carry it with you forever." The boy smiled faintly, holding his mother's hand, understanding for the first time that safety, love, and protection didn't always come from who gave birth to you, but from those who chose to stand by you. Ryder placed a gentle, protective hand on her shoulder. "Remember," he said, voice low and resolute, "there will be storms. There will be people who think they can take advantage of the weak. But when you face them, call for help if you need it. Trust the right people to answer. Loyalty and courage always win." The Angels lined up near the diner exit, engines idling softly now, a living wall of protection and silent promise. They had shown that night what true moral strength meant, standing up for the innocent, no matter the risk, no matter the cost. Lila hugged Ryder one last time. "Can I call you my dad, even if it's just in my heart?" Ryder's scarred face softened, and he ruffled her hair. "Kid, you already are." The Angels mounted their bikes, ready to disappear into the neon night, leaving behind a sanctuary where innocence was defended, courage was celebrated, and moral strength prevailed. The storm had passed, but its lessons lingered, etched into hearts forever. Courage isn't about being fearless, it's about facing fear with support and trust. Loyalty isn't earned by blood alone, it's proven by standing up for those who cannot defend themselves. Family can be chosen through protection, action, and unwavering presence. True strength comes from moral conviction, compassion, and bravery in the face of danger. And sometimes, one act of courage can create a ripple that saves lives, restores hope, and defines what it means to do what's right.